Hello and a warm welcome back to the Sweet Spot here on the Racing Post, your go-to golf tipping show. It's Jack Reeve and Joe Champion to take you through proceedings this week. We've got so much to get through. I'm so excited to speak to Joe all about it. Joe, how are you, my friend?
Very good, Jack. Just trying to digest everything we saw over the weekend. But yeah, very good.
It was a busy weekend, wasn't it? Late into the hours, the US Open, we're of course talking about where Jon Rahm won it after a fantastic back nine. Joe, it had everything. Lots of players in with a shout. We had DeChambeau, Morikawa, McIlroy was there for a little while, Oosthuizen, we thought he was going to win his second major after so long, but it was that man, Jon Rahm, that got it done in the end.
Yeah, really fantastic performance from Jon Rahm. He's been this guy that he's the coming man for so long now, and we've all thought that he was going to win a major eventually. We weren't quite sure where. Obviously, he came into this tournament on the back of the withdrawal at the Memorial, where he almost certainly would have won that week had he not had the coronavirus positive test. And then suddenly he rocks up again at Torrey Pines. He gets himself in the mix and then manages to just keep on the shoulder of Louis Oosthuizen. You mentioned how good that finish was going to be, but one by one they sort of all fell away. DeChambeau made big mistakes on the back nine, so did McIlroy, so did Morikawa. Jon Rahm didn't. I know he got fortunate with that drop he had on the ninth, but you make your own luck sometimes. I mean, he was brilliant with his up and down on the third, and then we get to the 17th, and suddenly he rolls in a long birdie putt, and then he rolls in another one to get to -6, and Oosthuizen, well, I know, what can we say about Louis? I mean, he hit that drive left on 17. Maybe
it
just
was so poor that drive,
to get over the line, doesn't he? But yeah, he does struggle to get over the line in these things, Louis.
The glorious thing about the finish was we had the crowds there. We had the stunning left to right sweeping putts from Rahm on 17 and 18. It felt like the first real proper event, didn't it?
Yeah, I think so. We've obviously had two majors with crowds already, but this one was the first one where there was a real sense of jeopardy. I think we saw the Masters. Hideki Matsuyama was in control for much of the final round. And the same at the US PGA, really. Phil Mickelson went up 18 and with a two-shot lead, he was never likely to let slip. Whereas for Rahm, he had to roll in that putt to really put the pressure on Oosthuizen, who had the chance to obviously birdie the last to tie Rahm for the lead had he not made that putt. Instead, he had to make eagle and he couldn't do it. And as I said earlier, like these crowds, you can hear them, reverberating around Torrey Pines. And I think, that really made a difference, especially for the viewer as well. I think it's so much better. We've got these big crowds back now. And what a performance from Rahm. He loves that 18th at Torrey Pines. He, of course, rolled in the big putt to win the Farmers there a few years ago. He'll be buzzing next time he goes back there anyway.
Yeah, there's something about Rahm holding big putts on the closing stretch. We've spoken about Rahm, DeChambeau, McIlroy, Morikawa. Any other performances to note from the US Open?
I think there was a few. Obviously, we have to give a big shout out to Guido Migliozzi, European Tour man, but making it one of his a rare major appearance. Played really well for a top 10 finish. He strikes the ball brilliantly, does Migliozzi, and I think he's got the swagger about him. He was a bit like Rahm. There were big fist pumps on the greens as he was holding long putts and chipping in from off the green. Great to see him doing well.
Yeah, the fist pumping from Migliozzi, it wasn't just one, was it? It was a sequence of big fist pumps, getting bigger as he strode towards the hole. It's absolutely glorious. That was the US Open. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope you found some winning bets as well. Let's take a look at this week's proceedings then, shall we? And let's start on the US PGA Tour, and it's the Travelers Championship at TPC River Highlands. Let me take you through the top of the market. Bryson DeChambeau and Dustin Johnson top the market at 12-1. Brooks Koepka 16s, Patrick Cantlay 16s, Paul Casey quite short this week at 16-1, Patrick Reed 22-1, Scotty Scheffler 22-1. Joe, take us through where you're betting this week.
Yeah, River Highlands, this is 6,841 yard par 70, so it's quite a short golf course for the PGA Tour. And we see this event every year. It's hosted it, River Highlands hosted it since 1984. And last year, Dustin Johnson was the winner at -19, which is the sort of score we can probably expect this week. This is an attackable course. Patrick Cantlay, who you mentioned, shot a 60 here as an amateur, and only one of the par 4 holes. There's 12 par 4s, and only one of them's in excess of 460 yards. So we expect to see these PJ Tour guys. They can get at this golf course. They can attack it. But actually, as I say that, all sorts of players have won here. It's not just the Bombers. DJ's won, but Bubba Watson's a 3-time winner, but also Ches Reeve won 2 years ago. Russell Knox has won, and Ken Jukes won. Mainly what you want to be doing is getting close to the hole here with your approach play. It's a second shot golf course. Approach play is key. And that's what we're looking for this week, really.
With that being said, Joe, how many tips?
I've got 6 for this one, so quite a few.
6 tips. Take us through your main selection.
Well, we'll touch on the market leaders first, and that's possibly the reason why I've got a few. It's because I don't really fancy the likes of DJ and Bryson coming from a disappointing Sunday at the US Open. I think we can swerve them. I think, as you mentioned, Paul Casey, quite short, got a great record here, but do you want to be backing him at sort of 16-1? Not for me this week. And my best bet is a man who performed well at the US Open, almost under the radar. It's Harris English, who finished 3rd at Torrey Pines last week. You could be forgiven for not noticing because he was barely shown on the broadcast, but only Louis Oosthuizen and John Rahm were better than him, and that was the best performance for some time for Harris English, who's a player who I really like. And at the end of last year, he seemed to be sort of top 10 in every other event, and then he started the year by winning the Tournament of Champions. He beat Joaquin Niemann in a playoff, and then his form dipped a bit. He's a brilliant ball striker, is English, but he sort of lost it from the tee. His driving. That's been his problem in the past. He's been wayward off the tee. He found it again at the Palmetto Championship when he's 14th, and his approach play were on point at the Torrey Pines last week, taking him to 3rd place. He's an excellent putter, and good putters tend to win this event. If you can get the ball close to the hole with your approaches and roll in some putts, then that should take you far. He's played in this a few times. Not too much to write home about, but he was 7th at the Travellers in 2014, and I think he can better that this week.
So Harris English, Joe Champion's main selection, around 40-1 general prices. Please do shop around for not only best price, but best place terms. Harris English in your portfolio. Who's up next?
So the next best is Keegan Bradley, who's a real approach play specialist. Bradley ranks in the top 10 on tour for strokes gained approach. And we know that he can struggle on the greens, but if he can get the ball close enough to the pins here, then I expect he should go well. Missed the cut at the Memorial in his last start. He didn't play the US Open, which could be seen as a positive here. He'll have a little break. But no worse than 30th in 7 previous starts. And he pushed Sam Burns a long way when he was runner-up at the Valspar Championship. 2 top 10 finishes in the last 4 editions of the Travellers, and this is a course that really should suit Bradley.
2 big prices to start, Joe. Is it going to continue in that fashion?
Big but not too big. I'll rattle through the next 4 quickly. Next one is Ricky Fowler, so another big name at big prices.
Yeah.
We all know that Ricky Fowler's been struggling, but his last 2 starts, he was 8th at the US PGA behind Mickelson, and then 11th at the Memorial. He then failed to qualify for the US Open, so he's another that's had a bit of time off, and that's probably the reason why he's playing this event. Doesn't normally play here, but when he has rocked up, the last 2 times he was 13th in 2010 and again in 2013. We know he's struggled. His stroke play has not been very good, but he really dialed it in for those last 2 starts. And crucially for Fowler, I think the putter was much better as well. He was one of the top guys in putting in his last 2 tournaments, and that's really his game. Strong approaches, strong putting. I think Ricky Fowler will go well. And there's another man I've mentioned already, Bubba Watson, who's a 3-time winner, who tends to show up well time and time again at courses that he loves. He's won the Masters twice. He's won Riviera 3 times. And this is obviously a place where he's won 3 times as well.
Rolling back the years here, Joe. So Ricky Fowler and Bubba Watson in the same sentence. It feels like it's 2013 again.
I've got a younger one coming up soon. Well, I shouldn't call Ricky Fowler old anyway. He's probably about my age. But so Bubba Watson, he withdrew at the Memorial. But he played well through 2 rounds at the US Open, got himself in contention, and then sort of wilted away over the weekend. But he's not played the US very well over the recent years. It's not a massive concern for me. His game's not that far away. And back on a course where he's comfortable, I expect he should play well. So the next one's a younger guy. It's Doc Redman, who's a real approach play specialist, capable of magnificent approaches. And he showed that last time we saw him when he was runner-up to Garrick Higgo at the Palmetto Championship. Of the players who played all 4 rounds that week, he ranked in the top 5 for strokes gained approach, striking his irons beautifully. And he did the same last year in this tournament when he finished 11th despite losing strokes on the greens with a putter. He's gained strokes with the putter in his last 5 PGA Tour starts. So I think a solid putting week, coupled with his brilliant approach play, should see Doc Redman in a much better light. And the last one at 3-figure price is former winner Ches Reeve, a 2019 champion who knows he can contend on courses where his lack of length is not a handicap. Now, I've mentioned how this is a 6,840-yard course. And Ches Reeve, that's his game, really. He arrived at Congaree for the Palmetto on the back of 6 missed cuts, but finished 14th. And then last week at Torrey Pines, a long course, which isn't exactly, a perfect fit for him. He was sharp again with the approaches, finishing tied 40th. Now, that might not be that much to write home about, but this is Ches Reeve we're talking about. This isn't Dustin Johnson or someone. He's a decent player. He's not a world beater, but he's certainly capable of winning a tournament like this, and he's a good bet at 3 figures.
Great stuff, Joe. You've basically swerved the whole of the top of the market, haven't you, this week?
Yeah, pretty much. As I mentioned, I just think they're probably short enough. They all wanted to sort of peak last week, and this will be an afterthought for some of them. It's not a course that's a great fit for someone like Bryson, whose approach play is probably his Achilles heel. Koepka, we know about his physical issues. I think Johnson is probably the best of the market leaders, along with Cantlay as well. Cantlay's irons should take him, should see him go fairly close around here, and he did shoot that 60 as an amateur. But I'm not really interested in any of them at the prices.
Absolutely. It's worth noting as well for everyone watching at home, there'll be comprehensive coverage throughout the week over on Racing Post Sport on the website. Brilliant stuff from the gents over there. Let's take a look at the European Tour now, and it's the BMW International Open over in Germany. Victor Hovland tops the market. He had to withdraw from the US Open after the second round due to an eye injury. I'm sure we'll get onto that shortly. Louis Oosthuizen, of course, went well. He's at 7-1. Sergio Garcia, 11-1. Wiesberger, 22s. Matthias Schwab, 25-1. Keimer, 25-1. Antoine Rosner, 28-1. Joe, how many tips for the BMW International Open?
5 for this one, Jack.
5. Take it away.
So we're at the Golf München Eichenried, which is a regular tour stop on the European Tour, 7,283-yard par 72. I say regular, it's semi-regular because it stages this alternating in odd numbers years. It stages this event. It staged it from 1997 to 2011, and since then it staged it 2013, 2015, and so on. The event's held in Cologne in even numbered years. This is a pretty easy assignment for European Tour professionals. I think we will probably see them get to sort of minus 15, minus 20 this week, particularly with some of the big names in the field who you've already mentioned. Victor Hovland, the headline act, but Louis Oosthuizen's here as well. We've got to see him try and get over his major heartache. And what punters have to weigh up this week is, whether you want to back someone who's flown all the way over from California to Germany. We've seen this before in the past, though. This is usually in this slot, and players have come over from the US Open and they performed well in it. It wouldn't surprise me if anyone from the top went close, but I can definitely swerve Oosthuizen. I think he's going to have to, get over that quickly. And Hovland, we don't know. He wasn't playing very well even before his eye injury last week. I did fancy him, and he'll probably go well again, but he's very short.
Yeah, I mean, 13-2, Hovland, Oosthuizen 7-1. Hovland had sand in his eye, didn't he, from a bunker shot that wouldn't dislodge, and he ended up not really being able to see, which doesn't help. Yeah,
that sounds a bit nasty, doesn't it? It's bad enough when you get something in your eye for 30 seconds. If it's in there all day, it's not going to help your golf game, is it? But
absolutely. Joe, take us away with your headline tip for this one.
So the next man in the market is my best bet this week, and that's Sergio Garcia. I mentioned you have to weigh up backing these guys. I feel like Sergio can come over and he can easily win this tournament. Of the favourites, he makes the most appeal by a long way for me. I've just crunched the numbers on Garcia in European Tour events, excluding major championships and WGC, so your kind of regulation European Tour events. Since the beginning of 2019, he's played 14 regulation European Tour events. He's finished in the top 8 in 9 of them.
Wow.
Winning the KLM Open in 2019. He's suddenly rediscovered his game as well. He's had 4 missed cuts in a row in the US. And then he finished tied 20th at the Charles Schwab Challenge and tied 19th for the US Open, where he was excellent in strokes gained approach, and he putted well as well, which is not something we can always say of Garcia. His record at Iconred is excellent. He has twice finished a runner-up, including when beaten in a playoff by his fellow Spaniard Pablo Larrafabal in 2011, and he's got 2 further top 10 finishes. Garcia, I think this is a sort of a perfect test for him, really. He's not been driving the ball as well as we know he can, but the fairways here are quite wide, they're quite forgiving, and he'll be able to bully this golf course. It's got 4 gettable par 5s. I can see Garcia, streaking the ball down the fairway, and then his stellar approach play should get him close to manufacturing eagle opportunities on those holes. You play these par 5s well, and you can start think about really crafting a low round. And this is really a course that should suit Garcia down to the ground, as he's shown in the past.
Yeah, some lovely statistics there. Always nice to hear Sergio's name. Sergio Garcia, Joe's headline selection for the BMW International Open. Who's up next?
So the next one is Ryan Fox, another big hitting Kiwi. He was fancied a couple of weeks ago at the Porsche European Open, and he finished 11th, playing well before another encouraging effort went 14th at the Scandinavian Mixed. Fox he's just sort of come back to the European Tour. He was in New Zealand for a few months, and obviously travel restrictions have made it difficult for him. But he's clearly come back in good form. He won a couple of events in New Zealand, low-key events, of course. But he's definitely made for this sort of track. He's played this once in the past. He finished 26th. That's a decent first spin. And he has that game that I'm talking about that Garcia's got as well. He can bully these short par 5s. I think Fox is a really good sort of fit for this course, and he should be able to go well.
Yeah, I've heard Fox's name mentioned quite a lot in recent weeks on the sweet spot. So we've got Garcia and Fox. Who's the third?
So the next one is another man who's come over from the US Open, who's been playing really well recently on both sides of the pond, and that's Eduardo Molinari. He's been going off at much bigger prices recently, so it's no surprise to see him a bit shorter given how well he's been playing. But this is the best Molinari's been playing for a long time now. We talk about his brothers won a lot, but Molinari's a former Ryder Cup player, a really good player in his own right when he's on his game. And this is really sort of a test that should suit as well. He was runner-up behind Marcus Armitage at the European Open, and then he jetted over to the US to play Torrey Pines, where he played well for a long way there. He finished tied 35th rather, among a group of really top-class players. He has to contend with that long journey, but he's played well at this course before. He was third here 2 years ago. And I think as long as his putter doesn't misbehave, and it will to a degree, I think that, basically, as long as the jet lag isn't a massive issue, he's probably sort of nailed on for a sort of top 20, top 30.
Yeah, 60-1 about Molinari. It's so frustrating, isn't it, Joe, when you back players? We were speaking about Morikawa earlier on in the show, that have weaknesses in their short game, but it's still so frustrating when they're knocking it to 6 foot and in, and they're just not dispatching with the putter. But that's what it's all about. Who's the fourth player this week?
So I've got another Italian for us this week, and it's Renato Paratori. He was sick for this course in 2017. He's inconsistent and he's wayward off the tee, but these are big, wide fairways where that shouldn't be a massive issue for him. And unlike his compatriot Molinari, he's a great putter. He's ranked 26th in strokes gained putting on the European Tour this year. And when he's in contention, he can really be sort of mercurial with a flat stick. Missed the cut in the Scandinavian Mixed. As I say, he has been inconsistent, but his last 7 starts included 12th place at the Austrian Open, 11th in the British Masters at the Belfry, and 11th at the European Open. And that's despite opening up with a 74. And in that tournament, where you obviously had only 3 rounds, opening up with a 74 was a serious disadvantage. So to sort of pull his way through the field and finish at 11th place is a real testament to Paratori, who's a good player to watch as well, because he's just about the fastest player on tour.
Absolutely. What price are we looking at for him this week?
He'd be around 100-1.
Okay, excellent. And one more selection, is it?
Yep, I've got one more, another 3 figures, and this is Ross Fisher, who opened up with a disastrous 81 at the European Open and missed the cut as a result. But he drove the ball reasonably well at Green Eagle, and he arrived there off the back of a top 10 finish at Himmerland. I think if we look at the European Open form, you can sort of take it as a mixed bag. It was a strange old event, that one, starting on the Saturday and ending on the Monday. over the 3 rounds. But Ross Fisher, I think he's shown that his game's not in bad shape, and we're getting a big price about a player who's got great form at this course at Iconread. He's struggled with a putter, but the long game has looked in good shape, and his course form figures, he's got a couple of missed cuts in there, but I'll read them out for you. It's missed cut 26th, 12th, 2nd, 9th, 18th, 11th missed cut. So we're talking sort of 5 top 18 finishes in a row at this golf course. If he hadn't had a missed cut last time out, he'd probably be a fair deal shorter for this. And, you can forgive one missed cut for a player of Ross Fisher's quality, especially on a course where he should be able to, get his driver out there and get closer on the greens.
Excellent. So that's the BMW International. Great stuff, Joe. Let's take a brief look at the women's game as well. We've got the women's USPGA this week, and you've got a few selections for this, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got a couple for this one, Jack. We're at the Highlands course at Atlanta Athletic Club in Georgia this week. Some listeners and viewers may remember this as the track where Keegan Bradley won the USPGA in 2011. It's a Robert Trent Jones design, and we've got an interesting mix of Bermuda grass greens and Zoysia grass fairways this week, which is not something you see all that often. And my best bet this week is actually last week's LPGA Tour winner, and that's Nelly Korda, who will be favourite for this, and there's a reason she's favourite for it. We mentioned Jon Rahm was a major winner in waiting, and Nelly Korda is very much the sort of LPGA equivalent of Jon Rahm. She's going to win one soon, and it could well be this week where she does it. She won the Maya Classic last week, where she shot a third round 62 to assume control, and then she just went out on Sunday and cruised around, did what she had to do, shot 5 under to win at a -25 total. This will obviously be tougher this week. This is a major, but she's got major form to her name. She was second in the Anna Inspiration on Bermuda grass greens last year. That was played in September. That's normally Poa annua greens. They have Bermuda greens in September because of the shift in the schedule. She was second in that. She's a 2-time winner on Bermuda greens in Taiwan, and she's Florida based. So that's the sort of conditions she's likely to be most comfortable on. I mentioned the Zoysia fairways as well. She was tied third on Zoysia fairways at the Arkansas Championship, and she's got that was last year, and she's got plenty of form in majors. She was third in this event in 2019. And once again, in the ANA Inspiration, the first major of this year, she was third again. Korda is going to win one, and hopefully it will be this week.
So that's Nelly Korda. Yeah, I mean, joint favourite at time of recording, but not too short, around 14-1. Shop around for best price and best each way terms. How many more selections for this tournament, Joe?
Just one more, Jack.
Okay, far away.
Okay, the next one is the ANA Inspiration winner, Patty Tavatanakit. She dominated over the weekend at Mission Hills. There wasn't really, Lydia Ko had a run at her, and I mentioned Korda, but realistically, they never looked like downing her. This 21-year-old Thai drives the ball a long way, and since winning the ANA, she missed the cut on her next start, but she's finished third, 26th, and 21st, so she's still in decent enough form. And I think this is a long old course for an LPGA event. You can expect the longer drivers to really prosper this week, and she ranks 8th on the LPGA Tour in driving. Should really play into her hand. She's a very exciting young player. She putts well as well. I think that's really a route to success this week. Get the ball up the fairway, and then get on the greens, and then Patty Tavatanakit should be able to putt her way to victory.
Excellent. Yeah, looking forward to the women's USPGA this week. Lots of great golf. And Joe, you've got a lot of selections, so just spin us through them really quickly once more.
Okay, so for the Travelers Championship, I'm backing Harris English, Keegan Bradley, Ricky Fowler, Bubba Watson, Doc Redman, and Ches Reeve.
And in the BMW International Open?
Sergio Garcia, Ryan Fox, Eduardo Molinari, Renato Paratore, and Ross Fisher.
Excellent work. Now, Joe, I'm sure that Steve Palmer is watching at home, because the last 2 times you've been on here, you've backed winners, haven't you? So no pressure this week.
Well, third time's the charm. Maybe I'll get a bigger price on it.
Excellent. Thank you so much to Joe, and thank you so much to everyone watching at home. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe, and if you're listening to the podcast and subscribe to whatever podcast player you listen to. Lots of selections, of course. You don't have to back them all. Remember to do so within your means. Gamble responsibly. We'll see you all again next week for another episode of The Sweet Spot. Go well. Bye-bye.